Bathsheba!
Believe it or not, Bathsheba Sherman, the terrifying demon from The Conjuring, was based on a real person. Some people thought she was a witch who worshipped Satan and was related to Mary Easty, a woman hanged during the Salem witch trials. Others claimed she had murdered children in 19th century Connecticut. Let's dive into the chilling stories behind this infamous figure. Historical records show that Bathsheba Thayer was born in 1812. She later married a farmer named Judson Sherman in Connecticut and had a son named Herbert. Meanwhile, according to the legends, she was later caught sacrificing her son to Satan with a sewing needle. She then supposedly climbed a tree and hanged herself, cursing everyone who would dare to live on her land. By all accounts, Bathsheba Thayer had a happy childhood. She grew up to be considered very beautiful and got married at the age of 32. Her husband owned a successful produce business on their 200-acre farm in Harrisville, Rhode Island. However, the community soon began to see her as a threat. During the day, Bathsheba started babysitting kids in the neighborhood. She had been babysitting her neighbor's son when the young boy mysteriously passed away. The doctors established that the child's skull had been pierced with a small but deadly tool. Because Bathsheba was the last to attend to the baby, she was tried in court, but no evidence was found against her. The women in the community were furious. A few months later, Bathsheba gave birth to a baby boy. According to legend, when the baby was just a week old, Bathsheba was caught by her husband sacrificing the baby to Satan in front of the fireplace. She had stabbed the baby to death. Exposed, Bathsheba ran out to a tree nearby a dock, climbed up to the top of it, proclaimed her love for Satan, and cursed anyone who would take her land. Bathsheba then hung herself, committing suicide. Bathsheba's evil spirit remained on her land, haunting her old home. True to her curse, she would torment the families who moved in. She would possess the mothers to harm their children and even make them take their own lives. The spirits of Bathsheba's victims stayed in the house too, all living in fear of her and her curse. If you saw our video about the true story behind The Conjuring, you might remember Andrea Perron's account of her frightening experiences in the house. Roger Perron, a truck driver with financial struggles, was thrilled to buy a 14-bedroom farmhouse in 1970. The family moved in the following January, and at first his wife Carolyn and their 5 daughters adjusted well. However, strange noises started coming from empty rooms, and things began to go missing. The children began to talk about spirits visiting them at night. One spirit was a boy named Oliver Richardson, who became friends with Andrea's sister April. Cindy also saw the spirits and reminded April that they couldn't leave the house. They were trapped inside. "My father just wanted to ignore it and pretend it wasn't real," Andrea said. "But then it started happening to him too, and he couldn't deny it anymore." Carolyn noticed piles of dirt appearing in rooms she had just cleaned when no one was home. Meanwhile, Andrea was haunted every night by a malevolent female spirit with a bent neck, whom she believed had been hanged. Andrea thought the spirit wanted to possess her mother to harm her and her siblings. Whoever the spirit was, she saw herself as the owner of the house and didn't like the competition my mother posed, Andrea explained. People are often drawn to sensationalism and captivating stories, even when those stories are far from the truth. By all historical accounts, Bathsheba was an ordinary woman for her time. However, her life took a dark turn when she was caring for the neighbor's infant. Although she was put on trial for the child's death, no evidence was found to support the claim that she was guilty of murder, let alone witchcraft. Bathsheba was acquitted of all charges, but the damage to her reputation had already been done. In an era where superstition ran deep, particularly in rural communities, any unexplained death could easily be attributed to witchcraft. The fact that the infant died under her care, combined with the unusual nature of the injury, was enough to ignite suspicions among the locals. Despite her acquittal, the accusations of witchcraft persisted. It is important to understand that during the 19th century, remnants of puritanical fear of witches still lingered in New England. Stories of witches, spirits, and curses were commonly passed down through generations, especially in rural areas where mysterious occurrences were often explained through supernatural beliefs. Bathsheba became a convenient target for these fears. There is no documented evidence suggesting that Bathsheba practiced witchcraft or engaged in any occult practices. As opposed to the popular belief that Bathsheba committed suicide, She actually died at the age of 74 due to a sudden paralysis attack. Like many women throughout history, she became a scapegoat for a tragedy that had no clear explanation. The needle found in the child's skull was likely the result of a tragic accident or natural causes misunderstood by 19th century medicine. But fear and superstition quickly transformed Bathsheba into a villain in the eyes of her community. The rumors were further fueled by Bathsheba's reclusiveness following the trial. She and her husband lived in relative isolation, which only added to the mystique surrounding her. Bathsheba had one son who survived into adulthood, and there is no record of her being involved in any further incidents that would suggest she was anything other than a regular woman living in a small farming community. When The Conjuring was released in 2013, the film took many liberties with Bathsheba's story. In an interview, Andrea Perron debunked the theory of Bathsheba being the evil spirit of the Conjuring house. There was only one really malignant spirit in the house who was so mean-spirited toward my mother, but we do not believe it was Bathsheba. My mother feels exactly the same way about her as I do. She thinks Bathsheba got royally screwed in The Conjuring, given the role of the evil spirit by default. I'm Bathsheba's greatest offender, and though I can't absolve her of guilt, I can and do give her the full benefit of the doubt. In life, she'd been accused of practicing witchcraft, sacrificing an infant to Satan in exchange for eternal youth and beauty. There is absolutely no evidence to prove she did anything of the sort. Though it was all based on rumor and innuendo, the accusation stuck. She was involved in an inquest but wasn't ever charged with the crime. In the court of public opinion, Bathsheba was tried and convicted, living a long and miserable life beneath a shroud of suspicion. Buried along with her entire family in hallowed ground in the village of Harrisville, she outlived only one of her 4 children. I feel nothing but sympathy for her, nothing but remorse for the life she lived and the accusation which has persisted after her death. If it wasn't Bathsheba, who was the malignant spirit in the house? My father firmly believes that the entity that haunted and taunted my mother was most likely Mrs. Arnold. She had apparently decided after the death of her husband to take her own life by hanging. That occurred in the barn, according to the town historian. At the time, he told my mother that a farmhand cut her down and carried her into the farmhouse because suicide was so frowned upon. I think she was probably an angry spirit or bereft. I also think spirits who remain earthbound do so for a number of reasons. Again, pure speculation on my part, but I really do think they either died so suddenly or tragically, they're not yet aware they are dead, or they are lingering in some kind of limbo. I will always be grateful for The Conjuring because, even though the film was a predominantly fictionalized version of events, it really is its own third story. It does get some things exactly right, leaving viewers with very distinct impressions such as good conquers evil, love conquers fear, and the Perron family endured an extreme haunting, which they all survived. All of these are true, so in this respect, the film is an accurate depiction of events. While The Conjuring may have immortalized Bathsheba Sherman as a malevolent spirit, the real Bathsheba was just a woman caught in a web of rumors and tragedy. Her story, like so many others, has been twisted over time. Proof that sometimes the scariest things aren't the ghosts in the dark, but the tales we create about them. Please do subscribe to our channel to watch more such videos. Thank you for watching, and remember, not every legend holds the truth behind its shadows.